Good morning, dear students. Hopefully, all of you are fine and taking care of yourself and your family. Today, we will be starting with History, Lesson number 3, Ruling the Countryside. In the previous chapter, From Trade to Territory, we have learned that how Britishers entered India as a trader and gradually started acquiring territories and starting ruling over our country, India. In this chapter, we will be learning about the policies adopted by the Britishers to run their administration and the consequences of those policies. So now let us start with our chapter. On 12th of August 1765, the Mughal Emperor Shah Alam II granted the Diwani rights of Bengal to East India Company. This was granted after Battle of Buxar, which was fought in the year 1764. This was signed by Shah Alam II and Robert Clive. The East India Company became the Diwan of Bengal on 12th of August 1765. As Diwan, the company became the chief financial administrator of the territory under its control. The company needed to administer the land and organize its revenue resources. It needed to be done in a way that would yield enough revenue to meet the growing expenses of the company. Now, over the years, the company had also learned how to play safe in an unknown land, that is, India. Now, here what I mean is that company had to pacify those who were the early rulers of the countryside. It was not possible to eliminate them completely. So, the company did the following: organize its revenue resources to yield crops it needed, colonizing the countryside. That's what we are going to study further in this chapter. So now let us see how company was earning revenue for themselves. Though the company became Diwan of Bengal province, still it was working as a trading company. It was not interested in setting up any regular system of assessment and collection of revenue. The company's aim was to increase the revenue to buy fine cotton and silk cloth as cheaply as possible. Within a span of 5 years, the value of goods bought by the company in Bengal doubled. The company before 1865 purchased goods in India by imported gold and silver from Britain. But here also a big problem arose. What was that problem? Now let us learn about the problem. Now whatever the company was purchasing, it was financed by the revenue collected in Bengal. The economy of Bengal faced a deep crisis because of the following. Artisanal production was in decline and agricultural cultivation showed signs of collapse. Artisans left Bengal as they were being forced by the company to sell their products at cheaper rate. Peasants were unable to pay the heavy dues laid on them. Agriculture was collapsing. Big famine of 1770 hit Bengal. This killed about 10 million population there, washing out about one-third of the population of Bengal. As such incidents took place, which ruined the economy heavily, the company then felt the need of improving the agriculture. Now the company felt the need to improve agriculture. Most of the company officials were of the view that there was a great need of investing in land and agriculture in order to improve it, because the fall in agriculture was resulting into great loss of revenue to the company. In 1793, the company introduced the permanent settlement. By the terms of the settlement, The Rajas and Talukdars were recognized as zamindars, who were asked to collect rent from the peasants and pay revenue to the company. The amount to be paid was fixed permanently. This settlement would ensure a regular flow of revenue into the company's coffers and at the same time encourage the jamidars to improve to invest in improving the land. This system was introduced by Lord Cornwallis. It did not go as per the plan and the following problems arose. The permanent settlement created problems. Soon, the company officials discovered that the zamindars were not investing in the improvement of land because the fixed revenue was very high. By the first decade of the 19th century, the situation changed. The prices in the market rose and cultivation slowly expanded. Even the zamindars were not interested in improving the land. In the villages, the cultivator found the system extremely oppressive. The rent they paid to the zamindar was high, so they took a loan from the moneylender, and when they failed to pay the rent, they were evicted from the land. Now that we know the problems being faced by the company regarding generation of revenue, we should now move on to the solution it came up with. A new system is devised. By early 19th century, many of the company officials felt that it was impossible for the company to survive on the fixed amount of rent that it was getting because now the expenses of the company had increased. They decided to develop a new method of revenue collection. The company officials decided to change the system of revenue. Holt Mackenzie devised the new system, which came into effect in 1822. Under his directions, collectors went from village to village, inspecting the land, measuring the fields, and recording the customs and rights of different groups. The estimated revenue of each plot within a village was added up to calculate the revenue that each village or mahal had to pay. This demand was to be revised periodically, not permanently fixed. The charge of collecting the revenue and paying it to the company was given to the village headman rather than the zamindar. This system came to be known as the Mahalwari settlement. While Mahalwari system of revenue collection was introduced in the northern part of the country, another method came into use in the southern part of India. This was famously known as Rayatwari system or Munro system. So let us know about Rayatwari system or Munro system. The Munro system. In the British territories in the south, a new system was devised known as the Rayatwari system. This system was gradually extended all over South India. The settlement had to be made directly with the cultivators who had tilled the land for generations. Their fields had to be carefully and separately surveyed before the revenue assessment was made. This system was actually based on a method which was applied by Captain Alexander. Read on a small scale. In some of the areas which were won over by the company after defeating Tipu Sultan. Riots here refers to the cultivators as there was absence of jamindars in South India. Both Reed and Munro decided to directly deal with the riots or the cultivators who were tilling the land from generations. Under this, The fields of riots were carefully measured and assessed. Now, let us learn about the comparison of all three systems of revenue collection. Just go through this table and find out the difference between all the three systems of revenue collection. Okay, now we know the difference between all the three systems of revenue collection. We know that Rayatwari system was also introduced by the Britishers, but soon a new problem arose. What was that? Let us find out. Now under the Rayatwari system also, all was not well. In order to increase the income from land, revenue officials fixed high revenue demand. Peasants were unable to pay, riots fled the countryside, and villages became deserted in many regions. Now let us look for the crops for Europe. By the late 18th century, the company tried to expand the cultivation of opium and indigo. The company also forced cultivators in various parts of India to produce other crops: jute in Bengal, tea in Assam, sugarcane in the United Provinces, which is now known as Uttar Pradesh, wheat in Punjab, cotton in Maharashtra and Punjab, and rice in Madras.